From Kern Government Television, welcome to this week's Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting, originating from the County Administrative Center located at 1115 Truxtun Avenue, Bakersfield, California. Kern County's vision is to create and maintain a customer-centered county government designed to garner the confidence, support, and trust of the people we serve. Today's Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting will convene momentarily.
Board to reconvene. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you. Supervisor Peters?
Here.
Supervisor Scribner?
Here.
Supervisor Maggard?
Here.
Supervisor Couch?
Here.
Supervisor Perez?
Good afternoon and welcome to the Tuesday, August 24th, 2 p.m. meeting of the Kern County Board of Supervisors. We'll first hear from County Counsel Margot Raison for a report on actions taken in closed session.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This morning you met in closed session on item number 57, but there is no reportable action.
Thank you. We'll begin by considering the consent agenda. All items listed with a CA above the items are considered to be routine and non-controversial by county staff. Consent items will be considered first and may be approved by one motion. If a member of the public wishes to comment or ask questions regarding an item on the consent agenda, they may do so prior to a vote being taken. A member of the board may remove any item from the consent agenda and it will be considered in listed sequence and with an opportunity for any member of the public to address the board concerning the item before action is taken. Members of the public may also comment on any closed session item. At this time, I'll read the consent agenda item numbers for the Board of Supervisors agenda. And that is items 4 and 5 on page 4, items 6 through 10 on page 5, items 11 through 17 on page 6, 18 through 24 on page 7, 25 through 30 on page 8, 31 through 36 on page 9, 37 through 44 on page 10, and lastly, items 45 through 49 on page 11. Are there any members of the public that would like to speak regarding the consent agenda? Okay, seeing none, would any members of the board like an item removed for discussion? Oh, I'm sorry. Please come down to the podium.
Hello, County Board of Supervisors, Chair Peters. My name is Asha Chandy. I am the Programs Manager for Bike Bakersfield. I'm here to speak on item 22 on the consent agenda regarding the cancellation of bids for the Lake Ming Bike Path Extension Project. I'm a resident of District 4, represented by David Couch. I'm speaking in regards to this project, which affects directly District 3, but residents from all over Kern County. I have an online petition with over 378 signatures, including residents from Bakersfield, Tehachapi, Delano, Lamont, McFarland, Lake Isabella, all the way from Sacramento to San Fernando Valley. Bike paths along golf courses exist, from Avila Beach's world-class golf course and the paved Bob Jones Bike Trail to San Diego's Mountain Bike Association Summit Pass and Bonita Golf Course Loop. These places exist, and these different types of users live in harmony. Paved trail shows that people use a space. It shows that it is maintained and not ignored by civilization or the operator of a public property. This is the type of development that should be happening in a regional park. To put it simply, I ask the Board of Supervisors to take no action on consent agenda item 22A without consulting the City of Bakersfield. This project was a joint application between the city and county to KernCog's TDA program, and this project has been in public meetings and voted on unanimously numerous times since 2019, from the Parks and Recreation Commission to KernCog itself. So lack of outreach is not an excuse at this point. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public that would like to speak on this?
Good afternoon, Chair Peters and Supervisors. My name is Cindy Parra. Today I'm here as a cyclist and a golfer that uses both the facilities at the Lake Ming Recreation Area. I'm disappointed at the way this project was handled and rejected at the 11th hour. That being said, this project is a joint application with the city and the county, and I'd like to ask that the matter be moved to another meeting in order for the city to be consulted on this item. This will also give all the parties time to meet and work out a route that is acceptable to all the parties. Thank you.
Thank you. Could we have our next speaker, please?
Mr. Godinez, before you start, can I ask a question?
Yes.
So that's two speakers about item number 22 on the consent agenda. Would it just make sense for us to pull item 22 so we can have an actual discussion and not limit them to 2 minutes that each side can give their perspective?
Sure. Yeah, I think we can do that.
Yeah, that's fine. So we'll call you back in a few minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, other than item 22, are there any other consent agenda items that any members of the public would like to speak on? Okay. Seeing none, are there any other items that the board would like to remove for discussion besides item 22?
I'll make a motion on consent with separate consideration for item 22.
Thank you. Is there a second? Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved. 4 ayes, 1 absent. Supervisor Perez.
Okay, we'll now consider item number 1, public presentations. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons to address the board on any matter not on this agenda but under the jurisdiction of the board. Board members may respond briefly to statements made or questions posed. They may ask questions for clarification, make referrals to staff for factual information, or request staff to report back to the board at a later meeting. Also, the board may take action to direct staff to place a matter of business on a future agenda. Speakers are limited to 2 minutes. Please state and spell your name before making your presentation. Is there anyone that would like to speak under public presentations?
I have something I'd like to pass. Okay. Thank you. My name is Lindsay Stevens. Good afternoon, members of the board. I'm here to introduce some newly formed groups of nearly 2,000 local citizens. We, the people of Ridgecrest, California, and freedom fighters of Bakersfield. Our mission is to promote and protect faith, family, and freedom in our community. We strongly believe in upholding our inalienable rights that have been endowed to us by our Creator. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Our government was designed to be a constitutional republic, with higher levels of government, federal and state, to be limited and the most control to be given at the local government. The state and federal government and CDC have greatly overstepped their role. We are here today to request that you, as our local elected officials, intercede on our behalf and approve a resolution to restore the power to the people. I'm now going to read a resolution we're asking you to consider. COVID-19 continues to spread among individuals who have or have not been vaccinated, among those who do or do not wear masks. In Kern County, California, we believe health decisions are best made by individuals in consultation with their medical professionals. Common sense should be exercised. Kern County Health Department and hospitals throughout the county have worked and continue to work diligently to ensure that testing and vaccines are available to those who want them. Anyone who wants can obtain vaccinations, anyone who wants can wear a mask, and anyone who chooses to forego masks or vaccinations has the right to do so. We have had COVID-19 with us for over a year and a half. Citizens have provided information regarding how to protect themselves from COVID-19 and are fully capable of making their own decisions. We need to stop depending on federal and state governments to push safety measures and mandates which deny people the freedom they deserve to make their own health choices. Additionally, parents should be determining whether their children return back to schools with or without masks, vaccinated or unvaccinated. Finally, we support and respect the rights of citizens to make their decisions regarding their own families. We will continue to do everything in our power to see that necessary services for testing and vaccinations are readily available to everyone in the county, and look forward to the time when we are able to move past the COVID-19 pandemic. Sorry, I had to read that really fast.
Thank you.
Hopefully it was clear. 2 minutes isn't a lot of time.
I appreciate it.
Is there any questions? No. Okay.
Nope, I don't think so. Thank you. Could we have our next speaker, please?
Supervisors, my name is Pastor Angelo Frazier, and I am in support of the We the People proposal. I'm a pastor and a chaplain here in Bakersfield, Kern County. Been here for close to 30 years. And I'd just like to read to you Lindsay said it all here. I'd like to read to you something that's pretty apparent. Proverbs 29:2. When the righteous increase, the people rejoice. But when the wicked person rules, people groan. I've seen over the last number of years a lot of groaning. I deal and talk with a lot of families across this county. A lot of parents are upset, fearful that they're losing their rights over their own children. And it's a shame that they feel hindered and able to speak up. I deal with families in crisis from Bakersfield to Kern County, from one end to the other, and I hear the same thing over and over. I feel like I have no voice. And again, it goes back to this: when the righteous increase, the people rejoice, but when the wicked person rules, the people groan. There's a lot of groaning. You have the opportunity to set this record straight so that the people of Bakersfield, Kern County can again rejoice. Thank you.
Thank you. Excuse me, just as a point of order for the meetings, there's generally no clapping, booing, anything like that. We're just hearing the speakers so we can make sure that we're all communicating well with each other and keeping any kind of distractions to a minimum. So that being said, I'd like to invite our next speaker to the podium, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Dennis McLean. I'm a retired resident here, and I just want to applaud the two previous speakers. I'm in 100% support of that. I know a lot of the community is, a lot of my retired friends, and just want to give you guys a brief idea of my school history. I went to school here at Bakersfield City Schools. I grew up with lead solder in the pipe, asbestos in the floor, asbestos in the pipe. We had dirt fields, and during the summertime, they flooded them with oil. You can see me right now. I'm 70 years old, and I think I'm doing okay, but I think it's time for the people to stand up and make a move. My 9-year-old granddaughter goes to North School. She sat in the cafeteria next to this boy, and apparently he was sick or whatever. So she's quarantined for 9 days. I look around here, I don't see any people wearing masks. What's the damn difference? So I want you guys to take a hold of this and hear what we're saying, because it's very damn important, and I'm sick of it. Thank you for your time.
Our next speaker, please.
Good afternoon, Supervisors. My name is Leilani Tedeschi, citizen here of Kern County, constituent of David Couch. I'm here to speak about the vaccines that are being mandated to teachers and other professionals, medical professionals here in the county. There's a shortage of personnel in the medical profession already. If the medical workers decide to leave to support their own rights, to decide on their own whether to receive this vaccination or not, what is the county intending to do and plan for this sudden, massive shortage of health care? It will affect every resident in Kern County. I have friends that are teachers that are being mandated for the vaccine. Because they're reluctant to take it, they're forced to fill out a paper. On that questionnaire, they are asked what they identify when they go home, whether they identify as a heterosexual, a homosexual, other. What would that question have to do with vaccines? I'm sharing that with you because I don't know if you know this is happening. The other question on the questionnaire is, what language do you speak at home? Neither of those two questions have anything to do with the vaccination. It's disturbing that it's happening under Kern County schools. I'm bringing it to your attention because something needs to be done. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Could we have our next speaker, please?
Hello, my name is Krisha Gurley, Krishagurley. I'm a resident and employee here in Kern County. I'm also a registered nurse working in the healthcare field here in Kern County. So I'm hoping, as our leaders of our county, you guys are already aware of the situation with the mandates and just how restrictive they are in terms of what we have the ability to do if we choose not to get the vaccine. So I'm going to focus on what you guys can do to help us as healthcare workers, to help keep us here in the county. We work here because we love this county. We don't get paid a lot comparatively to the state of California to work here. We're here in this county because we love it, and we want to stay here, and we need your help. So I would like to read to you from the public health order from the state, which states there are only 2 exemptions. One is medical. I'll tell you right now, there are no medical exemptions unless you've had the vaccine, had an anaphylactic reaction to it, and a good reason you can't take the other 2 after you almost died from the first one. You can't get a medical exemption, and that's in the order itself. I'm happy to provide that if you need it. So the second is a religious exemption. In the past, we check a box that says religious, medical, other. We submit it. It's the end of it. Our public healthcare order states that the healthcare order requires only that workers provide the operator of the facility a declination form signed by the worker stating that the worker is declining vaccination based on religious beliefs. I wish this were the case. I would now like to read to you some of the many questions that I had to answer for my employer in order to request a medical exemption or a religious exemption that then goes to the corporate level, and they will get back to me as to whether I may or may not qualify for said exemption, which seemed rather straightforward in the state order, but let me read some of these questions. Please explain specifically your religious belief that prevents you from getting this vaccine. Please describe specific conflicts that your belief has with the vaccine, and please give specific reasons why that requirement causes a conflict. Please provide specific examples so that you can help us determine your beliefs are sincerely held. What lifestyle choices can you offer as an example of your religious beliefs? These are intrusive and not required, and so I'm asking the board to please put forth a resolution that requires our employers to follow only the state order in regards to religious exemptions. Give us a chance here for those of us who have a sincerely held belief. We have no other option.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we're about 30 seconds over the time limit already.
Thank you. I appreciate your time. Are there any questions I would be happy to answer?
Supervisor Couch?
Well, without engaging in a lot of discussion today, all I was going to ask of those of you that are here to speak on this particular topic, if you could leave, Mr. Zervis, could you raise your hand so they know who you are? Could you all leave your names and contact information with Mr. Zervis,
Absolutely.
if you're willing to do that?
And please, I would sincerely appreciate a phone call from each of you.
That's my intent. Thank you.
Okay, could we have our next speaker, please?
Hello. I just learned about this meeting just a few hours ago. I came here utterly unprepared. but I
Ma'am,
will tell you
I'm
this.
sorry, before you go, could we get your name, please?
Yes, my name is Linda Jamara Ramirez, and I've been a resident here since 1952. I know that this is your responsibility, being leaders here in this city and over the area, for us citizens. You are to be responsible in terms of being educated. I wonder how many of you, and I'm just Jane Q. Public, that has only this little pile here represents about 1% of the information that I have looked at. FDA, CDC, FDA, have you? Now, the hospitals, the nursing schools here in town that are putting mandates on the students. Why is it that they don't know what I know? Why is that? Do you know what I know? Did you know that the top virologists and epidemiologists in the world, the actual creator of the messenger RNA, Dr. Malone, says these vaccines are dangerous? Did you know that the top most published heart doctor in history, what does he say? I don't have enough time to make the list. Gert Van Bosch, his credentials are a mile long, vaccine maker, former vice president of Pfizer, all in harmony. The list is endless. Tens of thousands around the world are fighting against it. Just a brief summary, what does it do? The spike protein that is supposed to help you actually is going to be created in your blood vessels. And do you know what that happened, what it does? Your blood vessels are designed to be smooth. So our FDA, and I have the papers, before they were rolled out, before the vaccines were rolled out, showed the list of items that will be a causation of this vaccine. And what have we seen? We have seen an actual rollout of those very things. Guillain-Barré, you see myocarditis, you see strokes, of which all people that we know already have experienced. So if you're going to be in the medical profession, and what does it say? Do no harm. Do no harm. So that's what we're asking for you. If you need time with me, I've got 100,000 hours of work, just about, not really, about 40,000. But in the meantime, we have lots of information that you need to know.
I'm sorry to interrupt you,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do no harm.
Okay, could we have our next speaker, please? Okay. We will now consider item number 2, board member announcements and reports. Is there any reports or questions from the board? I'll start with Supervisor Couch.
That was from my previous
Oh, I
comment.
apologize. Supervisor Perez.
It's okay, I'll pass.
Okay.
Thanks.
Any other reports or comments from the board? Okay, we will now move to item number 3 under Planning and Natural Resources, and that is a request from Raceway Solar 2.0 project by the AES Corporation to change various permitted uses for the construction and operation of 6 solar photovoltaic power generating facilities, which would produce a combined total of approximately 291 megawatts of renewable electricity with up to 291 megawatt hours of energy storage on 1,330 acres of land located between Rosamond Boulevard and Avenue A and between 70th Street West and 90th Street West, adjacent to the community of Rosamond and unincorporated Kern County. And for that, we will turn to Director of Planning and Natural Resources, Lorelei Oviatt.
Thank you, Chairman Peters. Members of the board, I'm here today with Craig Murphy, Assistant Director. The Raceway 2.0 solar project by AES was continued from your July 27th, 2021 board hearing. At that hearing, you were provided with a complete presentation of the project and the final environmental impact report. As noted in that presentation and the staff report that you've received, the project has been reduced. It's now on 1,250 acres of land and would generate up to 271 megawatts of renewable energy. It has been confirmed that it now includes 100 megawatt hours of battery storage. Both the full staff report with additional information and addendum have been provided to your board today and the public. The consideration of this project by your board includes a determination based on the whole of the record that the project meets the criteria for approval of the zone change, the specific plan amendments for circulation elimination, the conditional use permit, and the further consideration has to be made by your board under the California Environmental Quality Act that the project's benefits outweigh the remaining environmental impacts that cannot be mitigated to less than significant. We're certainly available to answer any questions you may have about the details of the project, but you did receive a complete overview at the last hearing, and you've received a complete staff report. Therefore, I would like to review where the project was at the previous hearing and what has changed since this continuance. While the final EIR contained 53 mitigation measures, there are still significant and unavoidable impacts, such as aesthetics, agricultural resources, air quality and noise during construction, biological resources, and risk during wildfire. With the solar tax exclusion, which denies the county revenue from assessing actual equipment, the project contribution to the general fund when it was presented to your board would have been limited to the $137,000 per year annual assessment on the land. One-time sales tax and the cumulative impact charge would also provide some fiscal benefits. Since the last hearing, staff has confirmed with the applicant that battery storage would be built on the project in Kern and not in Los Angeles County across the street where it was originally planned. As battery storage is not covered under the solar tax exclusion for projects in Kern, because wind electrons could also be stored there, the fiscal benefits of this project are significantly different now. The project's estimated fiscal benefits, as you can see on the screen, the sales tax is now a one-time $1.5 million. The property taxes go from $137,000 a year to an estimated $637,000 a year. Over 30 years, that would be $19 million. The cumulative impact charge remains the same, which is $817,780. I want to caveat this presentation by noting that until this project is built and Mr. Lifquist's staff at the tax assessor actually assesses the property, these are estimates. I would note that these property tax estimates came from the applicant's tax attorney. So at this point, I would say this is a bottom and not a top, given that the tax assessor needs to evaluate them. One of the other points about this land is it's currently owned by the public agency, the Antelope Valley East Kern Water District. They are a wholesaler of state water project water, so they're only paying $11,000 a year in property taxes on this land. It is further within an adjudicated basin with severe water restrictions. For any future farming, it will not be farmed. It will remain vacant. This area has some limited housing, but I would note that in 1992, the Board of Supervisors at that time adopted a plan for that entire area from 90th Street all the way out to 200th Street for 200,000 homes. That was planned at a time when we thought we had enough water. We don't have enough water, and that area has now successfully providing tax revenue with wind and commercial scale solar. That means that the circulation, which is before your board, has also been evaluated based on the fact that past 90th Street, we're not going to have the number of houses we thought we would have. And so Holiday Avenue, which has been raised as an issue of why we are eliminating this small segment, will not be needed for the kind of planning that was originally done for that. The staff report and the addendum include communications from AES, the applicant, and they'll be making a presentation today. I just want to say that the numbers on potential sales tax revenue and other benefits provided to your board in their presentation came from the applicants, and the numbers through the various communications they have placed in the record have varied widely. I would just ask that any clarity you want on those numbers should be directed to them. We have resolved independently these numbers, and we stand by the summary, if Mr. Murphy could put it up, we stand by the summary that we have prepared independently. Staff cannot verify the extreme numbers that the applicant has placed for community benefits in the $40 to $50 million over the life of the project. They remain the arena of the applicant to explain how they derive those numbers. Since all of the construction, all the jobs are construction. A project like this has 1 or 2 people who show up over the course of 30 years. This is not a fulfillment center or other place where we have ongoing employees. So we cannot verify where those community benefit numbers come from, but we do believe that these numbers are a significant change from what was presented to your board. An additional letter from the Rosamond Municipal Advisory Council is included in your addendum package, and we've given you a response on the Holiday Avenue segment elimination and recommendation. We appreciate their ongoing concern as an advisory council for circulation and future growth in the area, but we do not believe that the elimination of this small segment, and Mr. Pope is here and prepared to comment it, is actually needed. Additionally, a letter is included from the Large Scale Solar Association, so there are 3 of them, American Clean Power, California, LSA, and SEIA, to Governor Newsom, stating they will not be asking for a full extension of the solar tax exclusion when it expires in 2024, but a partial exclusion. They commit to working cooperatively with local governments on this legislation to provide greater benefits to local counties while keeping California's siting competitive to neighboring states. We would note that recent large-scale solar projects in California, in San Diego, and near San Francisco have been opposed by local groups and not supported by local decision makers, as well as a large-scale project in Nevada, which was withdrawn after extensive opposition. Kern County, in contrast, and your board has permitted over 17,000 megawatts of solar and wind, with over 50,000 acres of large-scale solar land being taken up with this use for the next 30 years. Consideration of the extensive contribution Kern County has made and could make to achieve the renewable energy goals of California, in staff's opinion, needs to be at the top of the list for the solar industry and not at the bottom of the list. While the current project and 9 others, if approved, will pay a one-time cumulative impact charge of $620 per net acre, which is where the $817,000 comes from, all other projects, including 2 that you have already approved, will pay $550 a net acre yearly for the life of the project as appropriate compensation pending resolution of the solar tax exclusion exemption. I'd like to note that the addendum staff report provides an amended mitigation measure 4.2-1 for aesthetics to make it the area of the battery storage facility compatible with the surrounding neighborhood. So adjacent to residentially zoned property or where we already have a home built, we are requiring now a solid barrier wall or fence to be constructed on that side of the battery storage. Battery storage is not in a building. They look like cargo containers. Sometimes they don't even have a cargo container top. So they are a heavily industrialized look. Like all fencing, it'll be required to be kept graffiti and debris free, which in the desert means tumbleweeds, as well as being a neutral color. So we require on other residential adjacent to the solar to have slatted fences with kind of a green softening effect. Next to the battery storage, we are proposing that we have a solid barrier decorative fence. Staff has provided your board with an amended site plan detail and revised 15093 statement of overriding consideration and revised mitigation measure monitoring program. I'd note that in the revised statement of overriding consideration, we have rewritten that recommendation for you to actually address these increased significant benefits and also point out that this energy storage capacity will stabilize the Southern California energy grid for the over 81,000 customers in Kern County. Storage is what we need. Storage will change the ability for Southern California Edison, as well as the remainder of the California grid, to not have to turn off our power during these wildfire and other sorts of events. So this is a confirmation that energy storage also will provide benefits for Kern County residents. The fiscal one-time contribution of the project of over $2.3 million to the general fund and the $637,000 a year in property taxes, in combination with the jobs and electricity grid stability, staff believes are sufficient to outweigh the environmental impacts and be a better use of this water-restricted property than agriculture or, unfortunately, more homes. Staff recommendation is contained in the addendum. I'm prepared to read it if it is a recommendation for approval, and we are available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Ovia. Are there any questions before we go to public comment? Okay, if not, I would invite any members of the public wishing to speak on this matter to please come down to the podium.
Thank you, Chairman Peters, Board of Supervisors. Good afternoon. It's really nice to see everybody again. Hope you've been well. For those that don't know me, my name is Dallas Pugh. I'm the permitting manager for Raceway 2.0. Thank you very much, Director Oviatt, for your detailed presentation and for all of your help over the last several years with this project. Next slide. This presentation will be somewhat abbreviated compared to the presentation that Director Oviatt just gave. We'll talk a little bit about who AES is, quick recap of Raceway, the project in general, some community contributions that Director Oviatt did mention during her presentation, and a quick summary of the economics, and then a couple of closing remarks. Next slide. As of January 4th, 2021, S-Power has become part of AES Clean Energy Development in the United States. AES has been a joint owner of S-Power since 2017. However, with the announcement of our expanded partnership, we have formed one of the leading renewable energy platforms in the United States. Kern County, as most people here know, has had a long history with S-Power. We've been in the community for several years. In fact, you've probably driven past some of our projects on Highway 58. And you've noticed, I'm sure, that they're pretty well maintained and that we're pretty quiet, good neighbors, I would say. But I'm also here today to let you know that we are the same team under this more expansive name, and our contributions to Kern County and the local communities within will continue under this new mantle. Next slide. Quick snapshot, just illustrating and demonstrating our presence in Kern County. We currently have about 250 megawatts of operating solar. And the project I mentioned previously on Highway 58 is that Ridgecrest Solar, that 17 megawatt project there. Next slide. Quick recap, Raceway 2.0, as everybody knows probably at this point, it's about 270 megawatts on 1,250 acres located in the community of Rosamond. Our interconnection is a 230 kilovolt gen-tie to our existing Big Sky North substation down in the city of Lancaster. Our commercial online date is December of next year, so that means we would have to start construction in January in order to meet that timeline. Next slide. This was brought up at the last hearing, but we just wanted to kind of reiterate some of the changes that have been made to the project since it was first introduced to the county and the public in 2018. We've since removed 823 acres from the project, and that's illustrated on the left. You can see those parcels that are colored yellow were dropped from the project completely. The project was pulled as far west as possible towards 90th Street to avoid residences. The redesign specifically responded to and has resolved a lot of the issues that were raised by the community. The project also avoids sensitive biological resources, including an existing Swainson's hawk nest, burrowing owls, and a population of alkali Mariposa lily that was discovered near Rosamond Boulevard. Furthermore, to kind of address some of the biological concerns, infrastructure on Site 1, which is the area that's indicated in blue, is to be underground to the extent feasible to avoid impacts to that Swainson's hawk nest that's just off site to the west, and leave that habitat directly under the nest open for future foraging. Again, there are mitigation measures that are incorporated into the EIR where we do have to avoid certain times of year while the hawk is nesting, so we will not disturb the nest or remove it. We're also reducing a great number of the proposed roadway eliminations from the draft EIR just to allow better access around and through the project site as much as possible. And as Director Oviatt clarified, there is 100 megawatts of battery storage proposed on Site 5, which is indicated in a small white square there Thank you very much. Mr. Murphy? Yes, that's correct. Next slide. So as previously stated, S-Power has had a long-standing relationship with Kern, and under the new AES mantle, we intend to continue our partnership through contributions to local communities. AES has donated hundreds of thousands of dollars over the years to schools, charities, and groups like local hospitals, community beautification, Little League, Sheriff's Department, and we've included a list there. It's not exhaustive by any means, but it gives you an idea of our involvement in the county to date. But the buck doesn't stop there. We are here to make a commitment, and we have every intention of continuing our partnership with Kern County and the local communities within. Next slide. Just a quick breakdown of the economic benefits identified both by Director Oviatt and in a study that was recently prepared by UC Riverside and some of our tax attorneys. As Director Oviatt pointed out, these are updated from our previous presentation to the board on July 27th. But after the continuance, we had a little bit of time to really drill down into the numbers with our tax attorneys and give you a more accurate representation of what these numbers are going to look like. The first bullet there, the tax revenue breakdown for just the PV portion of the project. We have an estimated $1.1 million in sales tax revenue to Kern County will be generated upon construction, plus another $500,000 from the battery portion of the project. And then there'll also be a $5 million estimate in property tax revenue over the life of the project, which is about 35 years. And as Director Oviatt pointed out, currently the property owners are only paying about $11,000 per year property tax, but we estimate with our project in the ground, it'll be about $100,000 a year for the PV portion only. For the battery portion, we estimate that it'll be over $500,000 per year. And then as mitigation, Director Oviatt did point out that there's a cumulative impact charge. We estimate that to be between $744,000 and $817,000. The local economy, over about $20 million in local labor income will be generated during construction, and an additional $33 million will be injected to the local economy over the life of the project, which is 35 years. About 200 construction jobs will be produced by the project, including 2 to 3 permanent jobs. We do have project labor agreements with Kern County unions, the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 428, Laborers, Local 220, Operating Engineers, Local 12, and Iron Workers, Local 155. And I think there are a few of them here to speak today, but there are 70% of IBEW workers in Kern County are Kern County residents. And lastly, existing projects. AES Clean Energy has invested hundreds of millions of dollars in Kern County and other renewable energy projects, and currently pays Kern County approximately $500,000 in property tax and franchise fees for solar projects that came online between 2015 and 2017. And then we've donated hundreds of thousands to local charities as described in the previous slide. Next slide. Then in closing, we do understand the county's concerns and reasons for the previous continuance. We actually believe the continuance was a benefit because it did allow us to really drill down into these numbers and give you more accurate representation of the economic and community benefits than were in our previous presentation. The revised Raceway 2.0 solar project, we believe, succeeds in providing the county with substantial community environmental benefits that offset any adverse effects. And the project is scheduled to come online by the end of 2022. So a further continuance would result in severe financial penalties and the project would fail. So AES has worked for about 6 years with the county and the community to address their concerns. But we're here today to address any further questions or concerns to help the board come to a favorable decision. So with that, thank you very much, and we appreciate your consideration. Ask for your approval of the project today. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Scribner, did you want to jump in after? Okay, perfect. Okay, are there any other members of the public that would like to provide comment?
I want to thank you personally for allowing me to speak to you. He had quite a bit of time. I only get 2 minutes. And I represent over 800 signatures from the people of Rosamond that have petitioned not to have this project go in.
Ma'am.
We hate the idea of the project.
Ma'am,
We're opposed to it.
before you continue, I'm sorry, but could we get your name really quickly?
I'm sorry, my name is Jo Ellen Alexander,
Thank you.
and I live in Rosamond. How would you like to have rats in your attic? I have rats in my attic from an existing solar project that's just down the road. The residents around the solar projects not only have rats, we have Mojave green rattlesnakes that come onto our property. We have additional black widow spiders, mice, skunks, scorpions, and other vermin that are just really an awful lot to deal with. And they come from the property because the property is, the ground is upturned. It causes a barren landscape. It causes a loss of habitat for the existing animals. I have beautiful horned owls that live in my trees, and they'll be gone. And I have nests of wonderful ravens and their families. They'll be gone. The gray foxes will be gone. All the wonderful habitat that we moved out of the city to enjoy will be gone. I have a friend who's in an existing solar project, and she has a 24-hour hum going on all the time. She goes out to look at the stars at night, and there's this hum. The ambient temperature around the solar project generally goes up 5 to 7 degrees. Now, it was 114 degrees in Rosamond in June, so we add another 5 to 7 degrees to that, and we're up in 120-degree temperature. Horrible. The dust that's raised pours into every vent and window in our homes, and my friend had 2 inches of dust and dirt in her home continuously while this project went on. And that dust, dear supervisors, carries hantavirus, which is a deadly virus that's carried through mouse droppings. It also causes a terrible disease called valley fever. And valley fever is carried as many as 500 miles in a dust storm in a day. And valley fever kills people. I had a fellow teacher in my neighborhood when I lived in Lancaster, and he died of valley fever. And it's caused by disruption of the dust. And there's no cure for valley fever. The Kern County has a project here in Bakersfield that ministers to people that have valley fever. Valley fever is such a terrible disease that even animals get valley fever. Our dogs, our cats, our other animals are subject to it, and again, there's no cure. So, and I could go on a long time, but I don't want to take too much of your time, but I'd like to close with this. I'm a born-again Christian, and I believe what the Bible says. And in 2 Chronicles 7:14, it says, "If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray, and seek my face, and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and forgive their sin and heal their land." We need our land healed, not scarred. We need our people healed, not given disease. And I beg you to vote no on this horrible project. And I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon, Board. My name is Hertz Ramirez, and I'm here on behalf of 2,000 members of the Laborers International Union of North America, Local 220. We urge the Board to approve this project. As you've heard, it's going to create a lot of good paying jobs along with the tax revenue. I think the AES has taken all precautions to make sure that any and all mitigations are taken to make sure that the environment is safe and protected, as well as, for the local residents. So once again, we urge you to approve the project. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Could we have our next speaker, please?
Hi, Frederick Wisnicki, Ironworkers Local 433, United States veteran, football coach,
I'm
father.
sorry, could you repeat your name? I didn't get it.
Frederick Wisnicki,
Thank you.
residents of Kern County. Good afternoon. Yes, ma'am, veteran of the United States Navy. I'm proud of that. Okay, I'm a job steward right now on a project over in Edwards. I've been up in this area about 7 years with these projects. I can speak from the heart. We've changed hundreds and hundreds of lives. My hat's off to S-Power for everything they've done in our communities. And there was a comment earlier about the Las Vegas people denying their workers these projects. I applaud the commission, the boards, and everybody that has supported these projects. My heart goes out to the residents, but the dust and all that, I wash my car every Saturday, Sunday morning. By Sunday night, from the dust and the dirt, from the wind, not from the solar project, it was a waste of $30. So we have wind up here, and we use it to our best advantage. For 40 years, I've been an iron worker, and I've watched guys in this community get up at 3 a.m. and drive to Los Angeles, Orange County. They were my brothers. Return home at 9 o'clock at night. They weren't there for their kids. They're home now, and they're here, and they're raising their kids. And when they leave work, they're with their families. I've seen kids go to prison out of high school because they went to the dope dealer. The epidemic in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where I was born, I came out to LA in 1963, heroin epidemic. We all watched the news. Baltimore, Maryland, heroin. These kids had no work. They had no projects. We've turned around hundreds of lives, and I'll let my business agent, Johnny Kanji, touch more on that. Being a job steward, I'm like a football coach. I get these kids that are probation apprentices, and I teach them to be union brothers and to work hard and to believe in a future. And they have a life and they have a career. It's not just a job to us. We have a 5 trade at the Edwards. Everything's so we got to clean up every day. We got to watch our dust. We just have some real good restrictions, and that comes from top of the line down from S-Power and the developers. The Kit Foxes and all those, yeah, we see a few. We don't bother them. They actually moved some of their areas to where we can't work in those areas. So all that stuff is taken into consideration. I know there's a ton of things I want to talk to. I'm jumping around. It's just basically choices after high school we're giving these kids. Antelope Valley, my BA will touch on that. The noise, our projects are hundreds of yards in the desert from the highways. Hundreds of yards. That's about all I have to say for now. I am strongly, from my heart to you, for our children of the future, I support our solar up here in this Kern County. I support keeping our money here and our kids having jobs in the future here instead of going out there and doing some crazy things because they have no choices. That's the main message I would like to give each and every one of you. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Could we have our next speaker, please?
Is it on? Oh, thanks. Good afternoon, supervisors. My name is Sally Phillips. I'm a retired educator, 55 years in education. I live in this area that Raceway Solar is talking about, the solar fields. I understand with workers, I understand with the jobs, but for those of us 800 people who live out in this area, we may not be exactly next to the field, but those fields will will send dust and dirt all the way into our middle school that's out there. I look at we built a home, a large home out there, and that home was to get away from the noise, the city, the traffic, and we've been out there 30 years. And now at the point in my life where I'm at, I've got to look at a solar field, driving home, having the sun reflect off of it, which one of my friends almost had an accident with it, whether it's got walls around it or not. The birds and the habitats will be uprooted. The things that we paid much money to be out there, and houses are still being built out there. This is not an area that is desolate. This is an area where there is a residential area, and they may be a certain percentage of yards away from us, but catty corner to us is where that project is going in. And so for us personally, it's like when I was a counselor in a high school, my motto was people before projects. Unfortunately, in the society that we live in now, people are the disposable ones, not the land. And so I ask you to reconsider this. It has nothing to do with the workers, the jobs. It has to do with those of us who have made our homes out there, the 800 people that are out there that are still going to have to deal with the aftermath of this. So thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you. We have our next speaker, please.
Good afternoon, members of the board. My name is John Cardwell, John-Cardwell. I'm a journeyman wireman with IBEW Local 428, and I am in strong support of this project. The solar in this county has given me the opportunity to enter a career, and many of my colleagues into a good career, good paying jobs. It's allowed me to grow, get good training, buy a home, start a family, and it's done wonders for all of us. And I've just been so honored and blessed to serve my local in a new capacity as a business agent for them. And and as a business agent, we were able to, just today, we had a recruitment event in Mojave at the Elks Lodge, and we were able to get about 70 plus applications for these solar projects. 70 plus applications for people who are willing and ready to go to work, and we are more than happy and excited to get them to work. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Ed Dodge, and I represent the Kern County Electrical Apprenticeship Program. Our program trains electrical apprentices throughout the county. This solar work over the last 7 years has provided us with an abundance of work, and it's given us the opportunity to give jobs to hundreds and hundreds of employees. We've been able to get classes increased probably from where they were 7 years ago, probably up about 25 to 30% more. We've been able to give young men jobs and a future. They've been able to make money on these jobs and put back into the community and help with taxes with the money that they make on these jobs. So I speak strongly in favor for this project.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Dennis McLean again. I had one question for the developer. Are these solar panels made in America with union labor and union materials, American materials?
Sir, this is just a time for addressing the board on this project.
Well, do you know if they're made in China or what?
This isn't a time for back and forth. This is just a time for your public comment, sir.
No, that's my comment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next speaker, please.
I've been in front, Chairman Peters and members of the board. I'm William Parkman, P-A-R-K-M-A-N. I've been here a couple of times in the past on this particular project, and I've talked about how the community feels, and you've seen it as it's gone along. 50% are for it, 50% of them are against it. Some people want to keep a small town environment. Some people want the town to grow. So I don't envy you. You got a decision that you have to make, and one that the community is going to have to live with and the county will have to live with. Godspeed.
Thank you.
Can you come back again? Every other Tuesday.
Can I come back every other Tuesday? My wife probably would have some objections to that. I'll try.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello, my name is Keith Noel, Keithnoel. I'm an apprentice with the local 428 IBEW. Let's keep these jobs here. If they don't build here, they're going to build somewhere else. I know the environmental impact is an issue, but I mean, that's the whole point of the solar, isn't it? Is to reduce our carbon footprint. So I feel for the people that live in the area. I know it can be an eyesore, but it sounds like they're going out of their way to make it aesthetically appealing. And let's keep this work here. Let's keep it local. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next speaker, please.
Good afternoon, Board Supervisors. My name is Brian Forrest, B-R-Y-A-N-F-O-R-R-E-S-T. I'm the apprenticeship coordinator for the Operating Engineers Apprenticeship Program. We cover Kern and Yomano counties, and these solar projects have helped add probably close to 30 apprentices in the last 6 months into our program. And projects like this Raceway Solar, if approved, and it's hopefully you do approve it, it's going to change other people's lives. I'm going to be able to bring in more apprentices into our program and local hire. I have apprentices that live in Tehachapi, Mojave, Rosamond, and all the outlying areas where all these projects are going, and I know they would really appreciate you guys approving this project. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other public comment? Our chair is going to step away for a moment. He'll be back. So your vice chair is serving you now. So please come on down, state your name.
Thank
Welcome.
you. My name is Ian Steele. I'm the Senior Vice President at Whirlwind and Solar. I'm also the Director of Tehachapi Valley Parks and Rec. And I've had the opportunity to work with S-Power very closely. And the amount of jobs and opportunities that it brings to this community are tremendous. Our growth within both our community and our business has been over 50% in the last 3 years, continuing growth in the solar business. Without these projects, we wouldn't have the additional 200 people annually that are going to work, and the $6 million plus in revenue that we put back into the community every year through payroll. So we support this project, and thank you for your time.
You're an excellent speaker.
Thank you.
He knows it too. I like that. Anybody, now's the time to provide input or criticism, ask questions. This is your opportunity. Welcome, sir. Your name?
My name is John Beery, B-E-E-R-Y. I'm a local resident of the area where this project wants to go on, and I'm highly supportive of Racetrack 2 Solar. I've got 14 parcels that are 2.5 acre, 5 acres. They're within a half a mile of this project, and they're for future building sites. And I do have, in Kern County, 27 other parcels. Part of them are close to Roseman. And I have solar on 3 sides of 5 of the parcels. I've been, my grandfather got off the train in 1910 in Roseman, downtown Roseman. And so the family's been there for a long time. Most of the AVEC property I used to farm, or my family used to farm, all along 90th Street and 60th Street too. The portion of 320 acres that you withdrew to appease the people that didn't like the solar systems around their houses. So I know that they've dropped 823 acres because of the sensitivity of the solar being in the area. I've been in this area, like I said, farming, except for 14 years. So I was in the Marine Corps, and but I came back and started in the ranching business, and again, I'm highly supportive of this AES project that they have.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for your service.
Yes, ma'am.
I think I saw someone over here stand up and want to come down. Please make your way down. You can stand too and wait so that you have some priority given how long you've been waiting. So that tends to work out okay. Thank you, sir.
I'm a patient guy.
Good
Hi, guys.
quality.
I'm Johnny Kadji, a business agent with the Iron Workers Local 433. I also do serve on the Planning Commission, the City of Buena Park. I am on the Centralia School District Oversight Committee. Been an iron worker for 25 years, 4 years as the representative. For my members, 21 years in the field. I'm gonna go in a different angle. My family's been part of the unions for 5 generations. My mother's side was Dutch. My grandfather was caught up in a concentration camp. Him and his friend were able to escape. He was actually a messenger to our allies for the American troops. He was able to escape, get to my family, my 4 aunts, and my grandmother. Sorry, it's a little touchy. They escaped into Canada. My mom was an illegal out of Canada. She's passed away now. God bless her. Sorry, guys. The older I'm getting. The trades were everything. Trades was that word opportunity. I'm going to stress this word opportunity. On my Italian side, my father's side, same thing. 1912, my great-grandfather came to America. The trades, the railroads, the coal mines, the steel mills is the avenue they dealt with prejudices, but it wasn't an excuse. What this country allowed was opportunity for my family, and that was the opportunity that I was given. These projects, renewable energy in this community, you guys supporting these projects, you have done just that. In the last 7 years, we have brought in over 500 people from your community, from Eastern Kern County, along with Northern LA County, Lancaster. We have networked with the Charter School Youth Build, Antelope Valley Youth Build, Antelope Valley College, Cerro Coso College, and Ridgecrest, Tehachapi High School. We have brought in people that have done some time. We brought in women, single parents. I have a few with me. Unfortunately, I couldn't bring everybody to tell your story. I'd want you to hear all their stories. It's very moving. I've just been blessed. God's put me in a position to help people out in life. I am a father. I'm a grandson. I'm a son. People get caught up in the politics a little bit. Unfortunately, that's what makes this world get caught up. And I do know there was question with petroleum. We are all about petroleum. And I hope you guys support it. We support it, and we got your guys' back 100%. Anything that's building to build our communities and give career opportunities. And when I say career, you won't hear me say job. I'm talking about a wage that is going to, somebody can afford to pay a mortgage. I'm talking about health benefits that's going to support for that individual and his family and his kids, and I'm talking about a retirement. So somebody's not being abused for the rest of their life and have nothing in the end. Now, if you guys know, this is our biggest problem in this country, and they can't figure it out, is how do we provide health benefits to the people? How do we provide a retirement for the people? We do, the unions do. And without your guys' support, this isn't done. I want to continue to give career opportunities. I want to continue to work with the community. Please give us that opportunity. And I support your guys' efforts, and please, guys, let's move forward with this project. Thank you.
Thank you. And next speaker, please.
How you doing? My name is Norris Carter. I'm in support of the project. As everyone here in here stated, I'm just gonna give you my story. I went to jail around 2012. When I came home, me and my wife and children were staying in a room. I used to work for a fish market. My father taught me how to fish, so I used to work in the fish market cooking, making minimum wage. Not even enough to cover a week of the room. A guy next to me gave me a paper, and it was the Iron Workers Union. I applied, and immediately they heard some of my background. I did roofing for my grandfather for a long time, and they took me in. Once they took me in, I was able to find an apartment for my family. I was able to provide. Now me and my family live in a home. Now my kids wear the best. They appreciate everything I do, and that's really coming from the union. If I didn't have the union having a record that I have, it was hard for me to find a decent job. Now I don't have a job like everyone states. I have a career, and I'm proud of that. And that's all I wanted to say, but I'm strong. I'm in strong. We need to, excuse me, I'm nervous. We need this project for a lot of kids. I was one of those. So thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, can I say something to him?
Sure, Supervisor.
So, sir, when you go home tonight and talk to your kids, if the occasion comes up, tell them that other people like us are proud of you.
Thank you so much. It means a lot.
Teach a man to fish.
Thank you. Our next speaker, please.
Good afternoon. Thanks for taking the time. My name is Lindy Williams. I got into the union at age 50. I'll be 52 this September. Prior to this, I was a graduate at Edwards Air Force Base. Okay, go Scorps. Lived out, I'm gonna say in the valley, a long time. There were times when worked 2 and 3 jobs just because I had to. I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem working hard. This is what I was taught. March 10th, 2003, I got hurt at work and they threw me away. I'd worked for 10 years. The things I considered doing to keep my home, I'm glad I had God. Because if not, you might have seen me on TV. Because you get scared and you get desperate. So I ended up renting rooms in my house to moms and kids because no one else would take them. At one time, myself included, I had 9 people, myself and mothers and children, in my home just to pay my mortgage. After I got on my feet a little bit, I still worked 2, 3 jobs, whatever I could do that was legal because I had convinced myself I made it this far, I have to stay that way. Truth, don't truth. But with that being said, I saw the information online for iron workers. I thought, okay, all they can do is say no. All they can do is say no. And, right? right? And when I went in, I told them my story. And prior to this, I was a landscaper by trade. So I was pretty handy anyway. I liked being outdoors. I still do. You get sunburned, you get something smack you in the eye, and you go home and you smile because you earned it. With this, just getting in like 6 months' time, I was able to put a roof on my home. I had ran 86 days late on my mortgage for 7 years. By that time, you're almost numb because, the bill collectors call. They think it doesn't sound important, but it does, but you're numb. You're really trying to figure out just how you're going to keep those lights on, how you're going to stay in your house. In that time, I lost my mother, lots of family members. I'm from Oklahoma originally. Couldn't afford to go home. Couldn't afford to go home. And then even so, because of the injuries, I couldn't fly, couldn't sit. From being able to walk through the desert and build those solar fields, yeah, I'm still a little portly. Okay, that just means I'm eating. But because of that, my agility has come back. I stand strong, I stand proud. I know that I have a career, like everybody's saying, a career. At 50 years old, I went in. Like I said, I'll be 52 this September. I have some college, but not enough at 52 to walk in. I can't type to save my life. Other things that other people can do, it doesn't mean I can't, but where my passion and my desire has always been was outdoors. Because of this project, and that's not to take anything from anybody who lives near the area, because like I said, I've been out here a long time. And I remember how things used to be, but what I also know is we're dying. Edwards Air Force Base used to be mission essential. They're talking about renting on-base housing to civilians because they don't have the funds. You look at some of the schools that are struggling. Roseman does not have a sheriff's department. You got to go to Mojave to use the CHP, or they have to come from Lancaster. Everything is not about money, and not all money is good money. But this project, if used wisely, okay, can really make a difference, not only in the community, okay, but in people's lives. As a person, like I said, who thinks I'm a pretty good person, had I not had this opportunity, you might have really seen me on TV. And it wouldn't have been anything nice, but I figure at least there I'll get dental. And that is not the way that we should think. And because of the union, I have dental. Thanks.
Thank you. Our next speaker, please.
Hi, Lisa Checkley Sanchez. Today I am speaking as a Rosamond resident. I have lived in Rosamond my whole life. Moved there when I was 6 years old. I did move away and go to college, came back home. I call it the black hole. It is. I love that place. That's my community. I love my town. I also love the people in it. And Mrs. Alexander, who spoke earlier, she was one of my teachers when I was a little girl. And she worked her whole life to build her house out in that area. Her whole life. A lot of those people who live in that area, I know you guys don't go to that area often. Some of you have probably never been there. That area is $1 million homes out there. There's some junky homes out there as well. Some trailers, some, $250,000 homes. But we're talking some $1 million homes out there that these people are that the solar companies are trying to put their fences against their property line. I understand the iron workers, and I respect you guys 100%. Everybody needs jobs and careers, and I really respect that. I don't respect that you guys are trying to come this way of 90th when those are homes in there. People have dog rescues in there. People have horse breeders live in that area. There's just a lot of things going on. If you drive out Rosamond Boulevard, all the way out to the end, turn around and come back, there's 11 miles of solar fields on both sides, down Rosamond Boulevard. 11 miles on both sides. This is gonna add about 3 more miles coming towards Rosamond, the township, the town area. Our area has expanded, we're growing. And I just feel that this is just too close to our town to keep coming closer. Anything past 90th, west of 90th, great. Anything this way, I ask you guys, beg you guys, don't do that to our residents. Our residents love you guys, we trust you guys. And we're not against solar, I have solar. I just want you guys to understand that there's communities in there. There's people in there, there's people who spent their life savings building these homes. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon. My name is John Adams. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak on the project. I'm the district representative for the Operating Engineers District 3. We cover Kern, Inyo, and Mono County. The Operating Engineer's primary scope of work is the operation of heavy equipment. Not only will this project employ hundreds of local construction workers, but also a project that produces clean, reliable energy. A project needed to meet the 2045 clean energy goal for California. I would like to thank AES for their commitment in meeting that goal. As a lifelong resident of Kern County, I am proud Kern County is a leader in renewable energy. I ask you, the Kern County Board of Supervisors, to approve this project. Operating Engineers fully supports the project. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Rocio Campos. I am a member of the community and I am also an iron worker for 33. These renewable energy projects have changed my quality of life and my family's. I'm a single mother of 2 boys. Before becoming an iron worker, I was working 2 jobs. I was working at a liquor store making minimum wage, and I was working at a Doubles making burgers. So I barely had any time for my kids. I started in the Iron Workers 2 years ago. I started in the Rosamond project. I have worked in the Oasis Wind, and I'm currently working at the Edwards Air Force. Thanks to these job opportunities, I'm able to be home with my kids. I work 40 hours. I work more if I want to. This has changed my life completely. It has changed their lives. I mean, before this, I had nothing. I had nothing. Now I have the opportunity to give my kids. I'm there. I make enough money. And I don't know what it would be if it wasn't because of the iron workers. The opportunities that have been given to me have great. And I have talked to so many people that we don't know where we would be if it wasn't because of these opportunities. I can retire now. I can, provide. I can be there. I can be a mom. I can take time off when I want to and be there for my kids and still be a provider. So I would ask for you guys to approve this project. It would benefit our community. It would benefit my family, my kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon, Chairman Peters, members of the Board of Supervisors. My name is John Spaulding, S-P-A-U-L-D-I-N-G, representing the Kern, Inyo, and Mono Counties Building and Construction Trades Councils, whose affiliates represent over 10,000 men and women and nearly 1,200 apprentices. I want to thank all of the tradesmen and women who are here today. But today I'm here to ask you to support our Planning Commission's recommendation and certify the EIR and approve the Raceway Solar Project. AES, or Raceway Solar, has committed to the use of a skilled and trained workforce. We are that workforce who lives here, contributes to the economy and well-being of Kern County. Raceway Solar has also committed to energy storage, which will prove to be an enormous benefit to the clean energy industry. This project will add to Kern County's commitment to clean energy. Please support the recommendation of our Planning Commission and approve this project. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Supervisor Perez, did you want to hop in there?
John, I wanted to express something to you. Thank you for coming down and giving your insight and input. I'm sure that you know Robbie Hunter in Sacramento.
Yes.
Is retiring soon.
Yes.
And what a champion for closing the skills gap he has been. You know, locally, our champion is you at the very top. Robbie told me, I hope I don't embarrass you, but Robbie told me that you do this job for $1 a year. And I don't think the public knows the level of devotion that you have to Kern County's workforce, to diversifying the workforce, to making it all inclusive, to not preferencing anybody over anyone, except, of course, the well-being of Kern County. You know, when you come here and speak to us, you carry a lot of weight, John, because of what you have done and what you have been here in Kern County. And I want to thank you for that, because as you can hear, these are difficult issues, and we respect everybody's position. But certainly your input is very helpful, as are all the working people of Kern County. But I want to say thank you to you. We never know when we don't have an opportunity again. So I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you.
Wow. Thank you.
Okay, could we have our next speaker, please? Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and bring it back to the board right now. Supervisor Scrivener.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I want to thank all the speakers that came out this afternoon, particularly our residents from Eastern Kern who made the drive, whether you were on the pro or con side of this project. For you to take the time to come out and express your opinions on the project, we greatly appreciate it. First, I want to turn to Director Oviatt and ask if she has any responses to any of the comments that she heard. We heard a few concerns, and I don't know if there's anything that needs to be clarified. Ms. Oviatt?
Thank you, Supervisor Scrivener, through the chair. If I could have the overhead picture of the, Mr. Murphy, the redesign. So I appreciate the people who are against this project, but I would like to clarify for your board some issues. First of all, the original project was, if we could have the overhead, thank you. The original project was released in July of 2018. As you can see, it was much closer to houses. The planning department told the project applicant that we would not support this design. We received extensive comments, but I want to be clear, there's no petition in this record before your board that has 800 names on it. I don't know what she's referring to. I'm sure perhaps she has a Facebook post, but there are 800 people who live in the area, but no one has signed an 800-member petition. We did, however, in July of 2018, receive significant opposition because of the types of luxury homes which are on both sides of Avenue A in LA County and Kern County. We indicated to the applicant that they were free to move forward with the project, but that we would not recommend it. They elected to redesign it. They redesigned it. They took out, as you can see on the right, what's before your board is significantly pulled away from those houses. The significant issue, Mr. Murphy, can you point to the piece that was removed? Was on the lower end, on the right. There we go. That was significantly upsetting the community as it intruded into a neighborhood. And we then released we did another notice of preparation. We took comments in July of 2020. We circulated an EIR, and we received only a very few comments on this. People did call us, and we showed them the two maps, and we explained to them that this is not the same project. So that's the first thing that I wanted to clarify, that there was opposition. We believe that some of that opposition has resolved itself. As far as the bigger opposition to solar projects, first of all, this particular piece of property has no trees on it. This particular property actually has no vegetation on it. It was actually a farm field that AVAC leased. AVAC is part of the adjudication. They decided that putting water, letting a farmer use it, was not a good use of their expensive water. So it's actually a barren piece of vacant property The desert area under the drought for the last 3 years lifts itself up. It doesn't need grading to do that. Everybody who lives in eastern Kern knows that the dust that comes from the desert. And so we are very sensitive to the whole idea that we don't want to add to that. We already are dealing with a very difficult, friable desert because we have lost ag. The majority of the agriculture out there has now been required to ramp down over the next 3 years, just as it is in the valley, and thousands of acres of trees have died and been ripped out, and that land is just sitting there, waiting for the next windstorm. So we have proposed mitigation measures 4.3, 2, 3, 4, and 5. These are extensive dust control mitigation measures, including the fact that 4.1-4 requires that natural vegetation be replaced, so that you can't just take it off of the sides of the solar project. In addition, the East Kern Air Pollution Control District for the last 7 years has extensive monitoring requirements. These solar projects are required to get a permit from the East Kern Air Pollution Control District. They're required to set up monitors. They are managed for dust. You know, the dust that comes in the desert is not coming from these solar projects. It's coming from the natural desert itself. In regards to the complaint about animals, once again, we have an issue in eastern Kern in the desert areas. The drought is driving a variety of bugs and other sorts of things into people's houses searching for water. This has been going on for the last 4 to 5 years. It affects people who don't even live near these solar projects, and it is not, we have had biologists look at this issue through these extensive solar projects, and we just do not agree that the solar projects are somehow increasing the amount of black widow spiders or other things that are in people's homes. There was an issue of dust affecting Tropico Middle School. Tropico Middle School is 3.5 miles from this project. Dust will not travel that far from this project since the East Kern Air Pollution Control District requires that this dust never leave the project. They are required to dust control and manage their grading in small enough sections that it never leaves the project, let alone travels 3.5 miles. I do appreciate that we have 11 miles of solar. Once again, we were going to put 200,000 people there, and if we had, we would have a serious problem because the adjudication of the water basin in 2015 would have deprived all of those people of water. So it is actually thoughtful land use planning that we are now trying to reconstruct this area for something that would give these property owners some value as well as provide revenue for the services. Since the comment was made that some of the board has not been to Eastern Kern, I know there are members of the board that have, I'd like to point out that this project is not next to town. Town is 6 miles away. Town starts 5.5 miles away at 35th Street, where the library and the sheriff's substation and the Rosamond Community Services District is. You go another half mile and you're at the high school. Town is 6 miles from this project. There are certainly residents who live here, and I believe that our recommendation and the delays, the reason this project took 6 years is not because the planning department is not processing. It's because we have been honest with the applicant. We do not want to bring to your board something that doesn't work for the community. AES was thoughtful and responsive to this, and that took time to redesign. I appreciate, the mitigation measures that I mentioned. Let me just point out that 4.3-4 and 5 address valley fever. There are extensive valley fever mitigation in this, as well as requirements to be for safety plans for COVID-19 and any other pandemics, as well as coordination with the Public Health Department. That completes my response, and I certainly am open to any questions and the actual language of the recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Oga. I'll turn it back over to you, Zach.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it. Ms. Oviatt, thank you so much for your responses. I appreciate you keying in on the comments about dust and other wildlife and other potential, other impacts that were brought up as concerns, but I think that you've addressed those very well. I also appreciate you providing perspective as far as the location of this project. 30 years as a resident of Rosamond helps you to provide that perspective to the board, and so I appreciate it. Obviously, I've been out to the area of this project multiple times, and particularly multiple times recently, because this has been a difficult one to consider for a few different reasons. First of all, Ms. Oviatt mentioned the opposition that we had to the first iteration of this project. I'll call it Raceway 1.0. This is now 2.0. But the other consideration is just the overall consideration of solar projects in general in the state of California, in light of the fact that the Newsom administration has pointed to solar as Kern County's answer to him shutting down our oil industry. I think that it's a funny coincidence, well, maybe not funny, but at least a coincidence that yesterday the governor denied Air Energy's appeals on their fracking permits. Newsom's decisions are always purely political. They don't weigh science and data when it comes to oil. But this board doesn't do that. When we look at a project, we're weighing the facts and we're trying to make a good, sound policy decision. So that's what I'm going to do as we move forward here. As we consider this project several weeks ago, I asked for a continuance, and I want to thank my fellow members of the board for granting that continuance, because the question that we have to answer every time that we approve a project is, do the benefits of this project outweigh the impacts? And that wasn't the easiest question to answer, particularly when we didn't have all the information about this project that we do have today. But that continuance provided an opportunity to review the fiscal contributions and components of this project. I think the real game changer in this project, in addition to how the developer agreed to remove several areas where this project was going to go, the real game changer to me is the construction of the battery storage. The construction of this storage is going to add significant fiscal benefits to the project, as the solar tax exclusion does not apply. The state has a tax exclusion for solar projects where we do not receive property tax for the bulk of the projects, as we should. I asked this board I guess it's been over a year ago, to support a referral where the county administrative office, the planning department, and the assessor determine what are we losing per year on solar projects because of that property tax exclusion. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute. And it's to the tune of $20 million a year. Compare that to oil, $80 million a year in property tax. And so Newsom's notion that solar is going to replace oil it's a lie, frankly. But as long as that exclusion is in place, it's going to continue to be even more of a detriment. So we're pushing very hard to get that exclusion eliminated. But with that solar, with the battery storage, we're going to see an additional $500,000 a year in property tax. That's in addition to the $100,000 to $135,000 for the land once this project goes in and is converted from the water district, the AVEC property, to a solar project. So the final assessment could be even more. So in addition, over $500,000 in additional one-time sales tax will be provided for the equipment and components of the storage facility. The expansion of the facility is also covered in the final environmental impact report, and the total storage could be more, as Ms. Oviatt said, than the 100 megawatt hours that we're talking about now. And so she listed the benefits that staff summarized. I'm going to go ahead and go with our staff's number on the benefits of sales tax and property tax. No offense to the project applicant, but we're looking at those numbers. And so a one-time sales tax of $1.5 million, property taxes of over $637,000 a year, for a total of $19 million over the life of the project, and also our cumulative impact charge, which is our way to try and address to some extent the inequity of the property tax exclusion, is a one-time payment of over $800,000. And so when I talk about these taxes, this isn't because the board wants to see taxes just for the sake of seeing taxes. These are the dollars that we use to pay for our sheriff deputies, our fire department, our libraries, our parks, our animal services, et cetera. So these are the services that our residents expect and deserve from this board, And that's what we are looking at when we're looking at that property tax exclusion, and what I believe is the absolute unfairness of that exclusion remaining in place. On to the location. As was mentioned, this land is owned by the Antelope Valley East Kern Water District, or AVEC, which pays $11,000 a year in property tax because it's a government agency. Obviously, when this is converted, we're going to see a great deal more in property tax. The redesign of this property, it was way too close to homes with its original proposal. I want to remind the industry, this isn't just for AES, this is for every solar developer, that the proximity to neighborhoods is a concern for me. Most of these projects are in my district. They have been for the last 8 years or so. We have had a few in the valley floor, but most of them are in my district. The closer you get to homes, the more concerned I get. The extreme water restrictions in the area, the adjudication that Ms. Oviatt mentioned, that makes solar make sense in these areas when we know that we are not going to be able to put in homes or continue ag the way in which was envisioned at one time. And so I'll speak a little bit about what RMAC's the Rosamond Municipal Advisory Council. It's an elected body that gives advice to our board on various issues in the community. They have looked at this project. They raised the concern about Holiday Avenue. And I just want to say to RMAC and everyone else who was looking at Holiday Avenue, this road was contemplated as a major road when we were looking at potentially 200,000 people moving into the Willow Springs area, which was a plan back in 1992. That with the adjudication, that means we're not going to be seeing anywhere near that number of homes. I think it's difficult to get a will serve letter for just about anything out there these days, or much more difficult than it was in the past, I'll say that. And so that makes solar make a lot more sense when you have a piece of property and you're trying to look for the highest and best use, and a way for the owners of the property who've been paying property taxes on it to be able to monetize their investment. In this case with AVEC, we're going from a public agency to a private agency that will be providing a lot more benefit to the community and in public services from the taxes that they are going to pay. So just a word about solar and the benefits of it. Providing for the state's energy needs is what we do here in Kern County, but we do it with an all of the above strategy. And so that means conventional energy like oil and gas. That means solar energy and wind energy as well. Just to remind those folks up in Sacramento that continue to browbeat Kern County over our oil industry, we provide more than half of the renewable energy to the state of California. And we don't get a whole lot of consideration of that from Sacramento, but we are working hard to change that, because they need to start to recognize what we contribute and start trying to kill our most vital industry. And so I'm going to get off oil now, back to this project, but I just want you to understand that we are looking, I think, a lot more closely at how we deal with land use here, particularly because Sacramento continues to go after one of our most important tax bases. The solar industry wrote a letter to the governor. They sent it to the board. I think all the board members have had a chance to see it. This letter was in reference to the solar tax exclusion that I talked about. And this is a good first step. Essentially, the industry said, we're not going to be asking for an extension of this exclusion past the 2024 sunset. Unfortunately, that exclusion has been extended. I think starting in 2017, it started to be extended out, and so we're waiting for this to expire. It keeps getting extended, which adds to our frustration when it comes to these solar projects. At least I'll speak for myself. But what I'm disappointed in this letter is they're still looking for a partial exclusion. I'm not interested in partial exclusions. I'm interested in a fair level playing field for solar with other industries. Remaining competitive with other states, frankly, is not Kern County's issue. Our issue is providing sheriff, fire, library, parks, et cetera, other types of services to our residents. So I would ask the industry for all of us to work together to find a solution that can continue to build solar and battery storage in Kern without any tax exclusion that reduces revenue to the general fund. And another message to the industry, we like battery storage because it provides more benefits to the community. By putting the battery storage in Kern County, that tipped the scale for me on this project. And so I'm going to make a recommendation for approval. I'd ask Ms. Oviatt to please read the recommendation into the record. I'll be prepared to make a motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Supervisor Scrivener. Do you want to
Chairman.
read that motion?
Yes. The department recommendation is to certify the environmental impact report, adopt revised section 15091 findings of fact, and revised section 15093 statement of overriding considerations, adopt a revised mitigation measure monitoring program, adopt resolutions and recommended findings approving amendments of the Willow Springs specific plan as recommended by staff, adopt resolutions, recommended findings, and enact ordinances approving zone changes as recommended by staff, adopt resolutions and revised recommended findings approving conditional use permits subject to revised conditions as recommended by staff, adopt resolution and findings approving cancellation of the Williamson Act land use contract as recommended by staff, subject to payment of penalty fees, direct clerk of the board to issue a tentative certificate of cancellation subject to payment of penalty fees in compliance with all other conditions contained in the tentative certificate of cancellation, approve the memorandum of understanding agreement, and recommend the Board of Supervisors chairman to sign.
Thank you, Ms. Oviatt. So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? If not, please cast your votes.
The motion is approved. All ayes.
Thank you. Okay, so we will now move on to our final item, item number 22, which was removed from the consent agenda, and that is the rejection of all bids for the Lake Ming bike path. So if there are any public speakers.
Mr. Chairman, would it be appropriate for Mr. Pope to explain to us what this question is that we're being asked to decide today, and then allow the speakers to speak?
Sure, we can do that.
Good afternoon.
She about to hold her tongue.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. May I have the overhead put on, please? The item before you is to reject all bids for the bike path around Lake Ming. And just quickly, just to put you in perspective of where we're at, this is Lake Ming right here. The Kern River runs around Lake Ming. This dashed line here was the existing bike path. The proposal was to carry it, and the proposal put forward was to carry it around the golf course and tie it back into the roadway here, and then use the existing bike lane here, and then go back up, connect it here. And from this point, we now have about 40 miles bike path to carry it all the way out to Buena Vista. That last 2 miles is still under construction out there, but we're getting close. So it will be a path that the community can support for time on, forever. It's a great thing. There are stretches that are made for serious bikers, and there are stretches like this that are really set up for community members, children, families. What a great place to be able to go ride your bike around the lake. So when we bid this out to bid, the first reason we're considering rejecting all bids is the price came in at $618,000, and we only had $454,000. So we're shy $155,000 right off the bat. That's a problem. Can't use road money, can't use landfill money. This sent us looking for TDA funds. It's a problem. Second, the original concept was to go around, like I say, to go around the golf course through here. It looks good and a nice black line like we have here. But when it gets right down to it, there is no around the golf course. The golf course property line went to what started the habitat for the Kern River. and it's a slope. It's not a flat spot. Looks flat on here. It looks like you got plenty of room for a bike path between the golf course and the river. And you put it out there on the ground, and all of a sudden you have to go through the golf course. It's no longer around the golf course, it's through. So this also is, by going around the golf course then, a good concept, but let me see if we can, you can basically make it out. This is the Kern River Trails Plan, and they had proposed here at Lake Ming that the bike path come around here like this, tie into this loop here, and then go back up the hill like we're proposing. But it didn't have anything to do with the golf course, probably because they knew the extent of the habitat area around on the Kern River and how tight it was to the golf course. So this is the Kern River Trails Plan, and because of those issues, well, third reason why we want to reject all bids, this is a feel-good project. I mean, we're talking about a bike path families can go out and use, the community can get behind, and let's build a path that the community can get behind. Let's not build a path that divides the community. Let's find one that works. So what we're going to propose instead is to reject all bids today, go back to the drawing board, and the reason why we're not just making a change in the contract is anytime you do more than 10%, then you got to go back to a competitive process. So we have to reject. We'll come back with a design that then takes off from here where we currently have a bike path that comes from the west all along the upper part of the Lake Ming, ties in right here, and then goes along. And we haven't figured out the details of whether in the fence or out of the fence, so it's just a black line at this point. There's a parking lot here that's used by Lake Ming people. Along here too, tie into, again, a current road that goes up here. And from here you can go all the way back out to Buena Vista. So we think this piece right here was good, but then we heard from some of the bike groups that said, well, one of the issues is they wanted to get to the clubhouse for the golf course so they can get a burger, get a soda, something like that on a trip. Easily done. Put a little leg right here. We're not sure exactly where it's going to go. Some of that's habitat, but we think we can make it work. So we think we can actually come up, because of this, we'll come up with a better plan. So we propose to your board to reject all bids and let us go back, work with the community, and come up with a better plan.
Great, thank you, Director Pope. So now we'll turn it over to public comment. Sorry for the delay, Mr. Godinez.
Chair of the board, members of the Board of Supervisors, County Council, and staff, good afternoon. My name is Gabriel Godinez. I'm here on behalf of Kern River Golf Course Incorporated, and here in support of staff's recommendation. Now, we are not opposed to a bike path, but as one is proposed, we are here in support of staff's recommendation to go back to the drawing board, to have something that's more feasible, that we can work in conjunction as a partnership with the county and the separate departments here to come up with an idea that is within budget and that works for the community and also works for my client, the golf course here. So with that, without further ado, I just want to say thank you for your time, and I thank the staff for getting into the crux of really what the main issues are here, and as well as encouraging the board that I think there is a way, we believe there is a way to have an extension of the bike path within budget, but that works for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other public speakers who would like to comment?
Thank you, Supervisor. My name is Joe Watkins, W-A-T-K-I-N-S. I'm the current president of Kern Wheelman. And we were going to be opposed to the plan as it was presented to me. And I've been out there 5 or 6 times with various people, even Supervisor Maggard and others. And we saw this project as something that was poorly planned, unfortunately, because it brought a lot of negatives and very few positives in our estimation. The intrusion into the golf course wasn't going to serve anybody very well. The golfing community would be upset about it. The cycling and walking, running community would probably not mind it, but there are hazards, flying golf balls, moving equipment, blind corners, and things like that that just would not serve us well. Don't get me wrong, I'm all in favor of more bike path, much more. If we can get out to the mouth of the canyon, that would be wonderful. I'm glad to see that there's an opportunity here for a chance to step back and take another look at this situation. Because I'm in favor of something that makes sense. I'm just not in favor of something that's done just because you can, doesn't mean you should, kind of an approach. So I appreciate the opportunity to come here and voice my opinion, the club's opinion, and other people that have talked to me about why are we doing that? Even though some had signed the petition that was out early, they had no idea what they were signing. They were believing they were being locked out of some beautiful area. That's not the truth. I mean, we're really gaining about a quarter of a mile, give or take, over what's already available. And it's just not a wise decision. I'm glad that we're all open to finding a better way. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
My name is Adrian Monje, and I'm here, and I'm excited that you guys are going to bring it back to the drawing board. I believe 100% that all bids should be rejected. This should be redesigned. First of all, it doesn't even go around the bike path as it is, or around Lake Ming as it is designed. It would take you around the golf course more than anything. And there's plenty of other options, even the one that you have laid out for the future. There's other options that are closer to the river, closer to the lake. So I'm here in favor of not accepting any more bids until it's redesigned.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. Can I get up again? Sure.
Thank you, Cindy Parra again. I just have a quick kind of rebuttal to that. The problem with sending it back to the drawing board, as it were, and not just continuing this to another meeting, is we have to go all the way back to the drawing board. It's got to go back to Kern Cog. It's got to go back through the TTAC committee, and not delivering this project the way it is right now, there's a good chance that they will not accept anything after this. I think if we just continue this to another meeting, have all the parties be able to sit down, look at what's out there, and maybe be able to come to a decision of what is good for everybody, how everybody will be able to enjoy it, I think would be better than scrapping the whole project and having to go back to the drawing board.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
I'm James Miller. I commend you on taking this back to reconsider it. I run out there every Sunday. I have for the last 6 years. The present design only leads to what we run into every Sunday: gunshots, trash, motorcycles, quad runners. And this is just between Hart Park, the backside of the soccer park, to Lake Ming, and then what they call Rattlesnake, which takes you up to the street on Palladino. There are 2 boats that have been dumped on that Rattlesnake that are now used for target practice, an area that is illegal to shoot in. It is so packed on the weekend that there is a food truck out there now serving food to people that are there illegally. So when you, in this present design, what you've created is another area that's secluded to all this debris, the riffraff coming in, crime at night. And you can go on Rattlesnake, I'd be glad to go with you. As soon as the sun goes down, there's a quad runner out there selling drugs. This is what happens when you have a path that goes on the backside of something between houses that is secluded. I think that anybody, I'd be glad to go out there with anybody that would go out there and walk, and I bet you in 45 minutes we could create something that works. But this present one is a disaster. And I think we should go back. You don't put an Indy car into the Indy 500 with a motor that's 10 years old. It's a bad plan, so you don't continue with a bad plan because you might lose it. I'd rather lose it and come back and build something that's a success. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Director Pope, did you want to jump in there?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. The comment from Cindy Parra was simply that she's afraid that we might lose the funding here if we don't keep this package together. We really don't have the option to keep the package together. Once you change a contract by more than 10%, you really have to rebid the project. I mean, it's just that simple. So we're up against, my proposal here would simply be that we spend a little bit of time, come up with a better alignment, come up with a better plan. I think it's actually going to end up being a little bit cheaper. Hopefully it is. And then we'll go to Kern and talk to them and see if there's money available. And I think with community support, they'll find the money to do so.
Thank you, Director Pope. Supervisor Couch?
I wanted to ask you a question about the 10%. Is that based on the cost of the project or 10% of what, I guess is my question.
Through the chair to Supervisor Couch, it's 10% of the bid price for the project. We can't just do a contract change order without coming back to the board for approval. And since it hasn't even started, it would just be, it's better to go out for a rebid.
So you could change the entire route as long as it's within 10% of?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other members of the public wanting to speak?
Good afternoon, Supervisors, Chair. My name is Norma Diaz. Norma Diaz, D-I-A-Z. My thoughts on this whole thing is that it can be a win-win situation for all of us. Ms. Parra's concerned about losing the money. Why not be positive and think we can make something really so much better and probably get the money that you need to do it with? And it's not going to create other things that we can't deal with. I'm a runner and a cyclist myself. I've been on a lot of those paths. I think the money would be better used fixing and widening, the route coming back from Lake Ming and continuing to fix the concrete or, putting the path in on the backside the way that it should be. We welcome everyone. We're not trying to restrict anybody from coming onto the golf course, no one, but we want them to use the front door. We'll put in bike racks for them. I mean, we've discussed this with them, and I just think that's the best thing to do. Way back in the back where they proposed to put that gate, you can't even see anyone. It's a pay to play. We don't know who's gonna come in there. We don't know who's gonna come in there in the evening before the gate's locked or whatever, and who's gonna be doing all that. So I just think it could be a win-win for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Please come to the podium.
Hello, Board of Supervisors. My name is Asha Chandy. I'm the Programs Manager for Bike Bakersfield. I was the one who wrote up the petition, included links to the Lakeman specific bike plan, where this is part of the historical plans of the area, the revitalization of Hart Park. If you look at the proposed plan, there is actually funds for an entire paved trail all the way around Lake Ming, including pedestrian seating, a memorial for an engineer at the Public Works Department who passed away before this project could be implemented. The addition of the trail around the golf course is primarily already paved. The part that's not paved runs behind or in front of a residence on the public golf course land. That is the main issue. That's the reason why. Everything else was part of the plan to be a similar quality as the Kern River Parkway by Riverwalk with jogging lanes, pedestrian access. The potential alternative plan to divert the route around Lake Ming would not only double the pavement on that like southwest ridge of the lake, it would also put more cyclists in the roadway or put them along the lakeside, which means now Public Works has to engineer 2 boat cycle track intersections simply because we have different types of users who use this regional park. We have cyclists there. We have RV guys who travel from Tehachapi, travel from outside Kern County to camp out, ride their bikes, enjoy what we have, what kind of nature we have, and that includes the green facilities and the green spaces around Lake Ming, including this public golf course. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello, my name is Andy Hines. I'm the golf course superintendent for Kern River Golf Course. And I just want to say that the lady that spoke in front of me, young lady, we do have asphalt. That would not be even usable for the bike path. I mean, it's all undulated, it's got ruts in it. That would have to be destroyed and redone. I drive heavy equipment. We have tree trimmers that come in there with these big, you know, the tree trimmers with the lifts on them, and the trucks that with the grappling hooks. That's how they get on the golf course in the backside for us to go trim trees. So not only would you have to rebuild it, you'd have to build it where it could withstand road quality. And it's just, we have so much fuel deliveries, uniform deliveries, all kinds of deliveries that take that road with heavy equipment. And where the one spot behind the shop, there is a blind spot. And my employees park back there. If they're leaving work and you got some bicyclists coming in at 30 miles an hour or whatever, now you've got a car accident on a bike path where his insurance is going to go up. It's not right. We need a better plan like you're coming up with, and I think this is the best way to go. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. I'm sorry, Nora, you have to go through all the public speakers. Any other speakers? Okay. We're going to bring it back to the board for comment. Supervisor Maggard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, I don't know how such a good project has become so divisive and negative, but it has. And for one reason it has is that for some reason, Bike Bakersfield and Ms. Chande particularly has tried to make this the fault of one person that resides at the golf course. That is just simply not true. What the issue before us, I think, is, and I know this issue very well, I know the area very well. In an hour and 50 minutes, I'm going to be on my bike with my Broco riding group, and we're going to be going around this very path on the lake. It's the most common ride that I take. I know it very well. The issue is that this plan, while a nice idea, was just ill-conceived. It places, I don't know how often you're on the bike path, but the bike path, and I will see it this evening, I see it every time I'm there. There are nice little families meandering about on the bike path with a child in a stroller and a little dog on a leash. Sometimes the dog is not on the leash. There's a kid or two on a little bicycle who can barely run it in a straight line, and they're meandering about on the road. It's full of these people who aren't equipped to do anything other than go around a nice flat little course around the lake. What this plan does by its design is it does happen to have the effect of golf balls. But there's a lot more besides that are a problem. The asphalt that was referenced by Ms. Chandi a few moments ago that exists is a service road. It places the bike path on the service road for the golf course, on which there are big, huge mowers with those big arms that come down. I mean, I've been on that road, and the mowers are churning along. They're scraping up balls. There's dust. There's a blind corner you have to come. It's a very dangerous spot. And then when you get to the end of that path that is used by service trucks and all that heavy equipment, it will pour these children on their little bicycles and their dogs and their moms pushing strollers into a parking lot. And then to get back to the bike path, it puts them out on Lake Ming Road. Mr. Pope, could you put up the map again that shows Lake Ming Road? I promise, colleagues, I'm not going to go on this for a long time because it's not necessary, but I want to just point this out. That road there, when it comes out of the golf parking lot, and there you go, intersection to Lake Ming Road, as it moves towards the lake, it is a one-way road, and it turns to the left. Right there, yeah, Mr. Pope, could you go back right to the turn? That is a rather steep downhill area. If you are not pedaling, your bicycle, I measured it exactly precisely. Your bicycle will be coasting without pedaling 22.5 miles an hour as you make that hard left, one-way left back. There's a gate, there's cross traffic. This is a disaster waiting to happen for the people I just described to be on that path using that. So there is a much better way to do it, I think, that is flat, that can be controlled, that will be a much better use of the money. Frankly, I think it's a red herring that KernCog may not give us more money. Well, if there's a community need, and there is, I believe they will give us more money. And if they don't, then we will apply the public pressure that is necessary to them so that they can tell the public why they don't want to give us more money. But this ill-conceived idea, I don't believe, is good for our community, and it's unfortunate that it's gone that far. So I also don't think we are served to delay the issue, because for the reasons I began with, this has been made to be a very divisive thing. So I think it's wiser for us to stop this, start again. Believe me, I am 100% behind creating the loop around the lake and completing the lake-to-lake concept. And I too, Mr. Watkins, would love someday to have a path that goes to the mouth of the canyon that's off of off of Alfred Harrell and 178. But that's other development has to occur before that occurs someday. So with that in mind, I would motion staff's recommendation that we reject all bids and release all the bid guarantees, and direct staff to work diligently in a very inclusive process that will help us come up with a better plan that will serve everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Supervisor Maggard. Supervisor Couch?
This question is, through the chair, is for you, Mr. Pope. If a project is changed to be more than 10% cheaper than originally, you still have to reject all bids? And where I'm going with this is, why would we not see if we can get this done, a new route for the same money or less, without rejecting the bids? And therefore, I'm wondering, do we save the time of going back through the TTAC and KernCog approval and all of that? Because that will take time, a lot of time.
Through the chair to Supervisor Couch, from bid opening, we have 60 days to either sign the contract or not. And we're already 35 days into that 60.
Is that without contractors? I mean, can they work with you a little bit, or is it just a hard and fast?
I'd have to research that.
Okay. So you just don't think are you telling me you got 25 days left, you don't think that's enough time to do an adequate job, which it sounds reasonable, it's not, of redesigning and getting new bids, seeing what they're...
I'd feel the community would be better served to reject all bids and then push ahead with a better plan.
Okay. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Supervisor Couch. Are there any other questions?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved. All ayes.
Thank you. Okay, having no additional items to consider, I will entertain a motion to adjourn to Tuesday, August 31st at 9 a.m.
So moved.
Thank you. Without objection, we're adjourned.
In spring, wildflowers dot the hillsides. Hundreds of species of bees and other insects